Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Yeah. And it's not citypaper.com. It's Lynn Cullen Show at gmail.com. We got to get that fixed. A way to start. Geez, I mean, what kind of a way is that to start this show? Telling people to go to the wrong place to, engage. Doesn't make any sense. I heard you, Susan. Hi.
Hi. Well, it does if you're if you're sabotaging yourself.
No, I don't know. Listen, the folks at City Paper, they run a newspaper. I mean, I am such a sort of an annoying sidelight that they just don't.
Annoying sidelight?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know that they would say that, but I mean, they got a paper they put out. That's what they do.
Right. They don't do you, so to speak.
Well, they do me, because we wouldn't be talking right now if we didn't have someone back at City Paper producing the show, putting us on, right? I don't even know who you are today. If it's, I don't know who's there, because we've got more than one producer now possible. So they do really, hang in there for me, which I appreciate. It could be, I don't know. It could be Zach. It could be Kevin. But they got real jobs to do at the paper.
I know. We don't consider ourselves a real job.
No. So I'm just saying. But yeah, Kevin says it's me. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Okay.
So there's an interesting article about our state of Wisconsin again.
But it's going to be a bummer, right?
Well, no, but it features this guy that I really like. He's this, and I should look up his name. He owns a brewery in upstate, a small micro brewery in upstate Wisconsin, and he actually ran for Democratic House rep, state rep. And lost to the Republican because it's a Republican place. But he has gone whole hog being a noisy Democrat in upstate Wisconsin, and he puts up billboards and he sponsors people. So they've had a couple of school districts don't have mask mandates for their kids, and children are, not surprisingly, getting sick. So he's funding two parents in a class action suit against these against these school districts for sickening their children. And one of them actually didn't even bother to tell people that there was a sick kid in the school, and did not require the kid to quarantine after he tested positive. Let him come, let him go. Didn't tell anybody. So this woman whose kid got sick, said, we went all over the place. I didn't know my kid was sick, and we exposed countless people. Yeah, and so they're getting sued, and he's funding it. And I just like this guy. It shows how you can just be somebody, doing your stuff and truly have an effect on your communities.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because for some reason today I've done so well, avoiding talking about the danger of 2024 and of I've really, because I don't want to think about him. I don't want to talk about him. And yet I think to do that is a mistake. So I mean, just the other night, I had some friends who came over, and I greeted them at the front door, and they came in and they looked so subdued. And I said, "What's wrong with you?" They said, "Oh, it's just the most terrible thing we just saw. The most terrible." I said, I said, "Is it involve somebody's a dead animal, dead anybody? I don't want to hear about it. Don't even tell me." They said, no. They had watched part of Trump's rally in Iowa.
With Grassley.
They were, and I said, "I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it." They said, "You can't believe." I said, "No." And then I thought, but see, it's.
No, we got to look. We got to pay attention. We got to fight.
Listen, I'll tell you who's really freaked. Former Republicans.
Did you read about that group of former Republicans? Yes.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that. So there was, first of all, there's a Michael Gerson who writes a column for the Washington Post, who was, I mean, he was with the Heritage Foundation.
He's as Republican as they come.
He was with
in the
George Bush. Yeah, I mean, he worked for a lot of people who make my skin crawl.
Right.
He was a speechwriter for W. He came up with the phrase, I mean, some of the phrases that now ring in our heads about, the Iraq war, all these things, weapons of mass destruction. He was there writing away, trying to pull us in. And his column today is terrifying. I'll read the first sentence. "It is increasingly evident that the nightmare prospect of American politics, a federal government in the hands of a unified Republican Party and a reelected and empowered Donald Trump, is also the likeliest outcome." Well, now no. Okay, now listen. Okay, but I mean, rather than just read his whole thing, what he talks about is what we know is going on at the state levels, at the so.
It's absolutely horrifying.
He goes on to say the Republican Party is and this is a party he still belongs to. I mean, there's no party for him. The GOP is a garbage scow of the corrupt, the seditious, and their enablers. Yet the short-term and medium-term political currents are in its favor. But I think this is because Democrats, as usual, just are not.
I focus not just to flash back on something we talked about last week, but you are absolutely correct. They are now referring to the most conservative factions. There is no such thing as a conservative faction of Democrats. They're moderates, which makes everybody else progressive. So, which is just not true.
Well, those kinds of labels have always been ludicrous in many ways,
but
right?
It's across I'm reading it.
One of the reasons, though, I said one of the reasons, though, Susan, is there's only really one party, and that's the Democratic Party, and it has to be home to everybody except these lunatics that now are in the Republican Party. So how do you, of course, everybody's talking about the Democrats are in disarray, the Democrats on, a total disunity.
No, we're accommodating blah, blah, blah. A really huge tent.
We got everybody from, really conservative to to socialists.
And the people that are trying the hardest to help us are the disaffected Republicans that actually want to elect rational human beings. So, we have to, and the article that I'm assuming we both read And thusly, we have to agree. We don't agree on large numbers of things, but we do agree on our belief in a democratic United States, a democracy, not a party.
Yeah. And I mean, so here's what we don't get. And because we all live in our bubbles, we talk to each other, and so does media. And so it's very difficult to get a real sense of this huge country and the voters in it. But also put on top of that, operating within this bizarre electoral system we have, which absolutely handicaps Democrats and gives a big head start to Republicans. And this...
Well, that the party of white men, why wouldn't they want to start on third base? That's where they're supposed to start.
Yeah, that's where they know where you start. Anyway, he goes on, Gerson says, American voters are increasingly polarized by education. Whites with a college degree have lurched always. I mean, Democrats. Whites without a college degree, Republicans. And this presents Democrats with disadvantages. For one thing, there are significantly more voters who lack a college education than have one. And those with a college education tend to be clumped in urban areas, which centralizes and diminishes their electoral clout. Because of the Electoral College and the constitutional method of Senate representation, fucking Wyoming gets 2 senators and California gets 2 senators. I mean, this is insanity. And he says what this means is Democrats need to significantly outperform Republicans in national elections to obtain even mediocre results in presidential and Senate races. It means that Democrats, to remain competitive, need to win in places they don't currently win, and they need to draw from groups that they don't currently draw from, and they need to speak in cultural dialects they don't currently speak. I don't know that Democrats are really up to this. The fact is, it seems incredible, but the Republicans are setting up an infrastructure that will give them the presidency in 2024. And if not, will give us a coup, a constitutional crisis, a civil war.
Right.
So, and here's you want to know, here's why. How come all of the hysterical things I'm reading are not written by Democrats? They're written by Republicans. Case in point, today's New York Times, Christine Todd Whitman and Miles Taylor, 2 Republicans. The headline is, "We are Republicans with a plea. Elect Democrats." And their piece says the same thing. The only way Democrats can win is for Republicans to vote for them. And they're writing to other Republicans.
Right.
They're writing literally to what they call rational Republicans, who they say have obviously lost the party, because they say there's no doubt that these total extremists have a vice-like grip on the National Republican Party and the state parties as well. And they say the best hope for the rational remnants of the Republican Party is to form an alliance with Democrats to defend America, its institutions, and its democracy. And they point out as well that Trump lost the last election in large part because a small but enough Republicans defected. People who had voted for him in 2016 and who did not. They figure that that's about 7% of people who voted for Trump in 16 voted for Biden in the last election. And that was enough to have made a difference in swing states. And they go on to say, I know for Republicans, I mean, this is like they've always thought of the Democrats as the enemy, but they say, you've got to put the country over the party. Got to put the country over the party. This ain't a game. When push comes to shove, patriotic conservatives should support Democrats in the next elections. So you got Republicans so clearly saying this, raising, the alarm. They're Paul Revere's riding through, the unthinkable is coming. The unthinkable is coming. And all our media is doing is, the Democrats are in disarray. Oh, Biden's numbers. Oh, this, oh, that. As if this were a normal time. It ain't. They're like sleepwalking the media through this, generally speaking. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah, okay. I know I haven't done a lot of that lately because we all want to protect ourselves, right? Thank you, Ruth. Yes, that's exactly where I was going. Matt Amodio got beat, the Jeopardy guy.
Yeah.
Driving me crazy.
Yeah, right. Why?
So
because he always said what?
No, that's not why. It's because he took the fun out of the game. You watch a game because you don't know what the outcome will be.
Right.
It's not fun. And he didn't just win, he trounced. And it was no fun to watch. I couldn't watch, and I know I'm not alone. So he not only got beat, he came in third.
Right, he got trounced. He said that when he came back, it was the beginning of a new filming, and he couldn't get his buzzer timing right.
He just couldn't get. Well, that's his excuse. Whatever, he's done, and I'm thrilled. I'm unhappy I missed the show, but I suppose I could find it on demand. But now I know, so what difference does it make? But yeah, he wasn't a bad guy. It's just and he leaves with $1.5 million, and not bad.
No,
for a grad student. No, and it's an actor who beat him. I love it.
Yeah, just an actor out of Florida. Well, actors are smart people too.
Well, sure, but
that was one of the things my daughter hated about it, that everybody just assumed that she was stupid.
Why? Because she was an actor?
Uh-huh.
Why would that be?
I don't know. She was doing, yeah. Oh, I'm sure it is. Come on. She was treated like, of course.
But an actor can't be stupid. So anyone who thinks actors are stupid,
especially people that are doing, heavy
duty.
drama.
Well, you've got to be able to comprehend, understand, memorize, and then be willing also to be so emotionally naked. I mean, it requires just tons of talent. My God. That's annoying. So
let's see if I can think of something that isn't annoying.
No, wait a minute. I got something, Susan, because I wrote it down. Susan and I were talking on the phone last night.
Yeah, I should ask you, how do you feel?
I feel great.
Me
Why?
too.
We were drinking together.
Well, we were on the phone for we were having a nice sisterly chat, and we each were obviously sitting next to our own bottle of wine. But anyway, go ahead. One.
One, but that's good, Susan. That's 20 minutes in. That is so good.
And I buzzed myself.
Star. Yes, you did. I love it. You see how,
you see, old bitches could learn new tricks.
I love it. Well, one of the things Susan and I were talking about is that I am going to decamp to the family homestead, Green Bay, probably next month. I should be able to, still do the show, but my siblings have been putting in a lot of time up there, and I have not contributed as much. Granted, they're closer and all that, but I definitely want to go. So Susan, we were talking about that, and trying to figure out when and how and blah blah blah, trying to organize logistically, and then Susan very excitedly started telling me about, well, and you know what, the television. She was telling me about the bedroom that I will be in. The television, I mean, it doesn't get, but you can get Netflix, you can do it, and she's, because she's like done things in there. She said, and then you said something about, and you don't have to, you can charge your phone, which I thought,
right.
What? So I guess, and you said something about, and it's so amazing because you don't have to, you can, she was telling me.
I didn't say it was so amazing. I was trying to,
You said, you said to charge your phone. Here's what I wrote down because it made no sense to me at all. And then you just kept going. I didn't understand a word you were saying. You said, you lean it against the charger.
Yeah, it's a plastic stand, a white plastic stand with that has a upright piece that leans back, that is magnetized. You simply put the magnetized phone against the magnetized upright, which is plugged in, and you don't have to have anything. It just charges it.
I don't. So you're saying I don't have to have wires.
So I'm saying you don't, and then I'm saying in case you just don't trust that, you want to bring your wires. That the socket on the floor has a receptacle.
You did say socket. Oh, as a receptacle. I get it, for sticking in okay.
But it's only for the wide, USB port. Okay, that's all I was trying to tell you. I'm sure the audience is terribly interested in this. My sister had to write this down. That's the interesting part.
Lean against charger. That's what I wrote down. And you just said my magnetized phone. My phone is magnetized?
Yeah, it's got little magnets in it.
What the hell do I know? Okay,
it's sort of like the vaccine. Try sticking your phone to your face, see what happens.
What the hell are you talking about?
Don't you know that the COVID vaccine is supposed to make you magnetic, and that's why all those women were sitting in hearings and putting keys on their faces thinking they were going to stick, but they fell off instead? You don't know about any of this?
I think vaguely. It is really hard.
Your mind has to throw out some of this horrifyingly stupid stuff.
With the stupidity, insanity, inanity.
Okay, speaking of which, did you read the review of Hillary Rodham Clinton's?
No, because I have no intention of reading that book.
Well, that's fine. Read the review. I'm just going to tell you, read the review. I think it's in the Washington Post because it's funny. It's very funny, and what what the reviewer does is compare who the Clintons are as when they write these things. Billy sees himself as a superhero, as he casts himself in the part of the superhero, super spy person. And Hillary makes herself into a schlump, that doesn't care what she wears and has a sidekick sort of middle-aged woman best friend. It's a very interesting take on looking at how the two of them view each other. And
I'm looking at the one in the New York Times right now, and I don't know. But what is it with people who all of a sudden, if I were a novelist, I would be so annoyed by people who have made a mark in, like, say, the political world, all of a sudden saying, hey, now I'm going to write a thriller.
Well, I assure you that the novelist the fiction writer with whom she teamed up is quite thrilled. She's going
she's going to sell a bunch of books.
She's going to make a lot of money, and she's already got her own series going. She's not going to hurt her reputation, and so this was, I'm sure, just a fun lark for her. Anyway, I'm just recommending the review. I don't have any intent on reading the book either. This review,
I cut to the chase. And this review says that they're recommending her book more than Bill's.
Yeah.
Maybe there's nothing competitive about celebrity spouses, it says, pairing with established novelists and publishing novels within a few months of each other. But I'm going to award the prize for Best Clinton Thriller of 2021 to Hillary. So I just don't.
Okay, that wasn't
also,
my
Susan,
point.
in the arts, I know, but in the arts section, I just turned the page and I'm looking at that horrifying doll, Chucky.
Oh, no, Chucky. Oh, God.
Now, and again, with the potential of really annoying the audience, I have a vague memory. Well, it's not vague. It just like, pow. But I can't quite remember. And I don't know if you were with me, but I think you would have had to have been.
What?
I was in a house.
In L.A.?
In L.A., and I walked up some
with
stairs.
My husband and me.
And, yes, okay. And at the top, as you got to the top and turned right. I mean, it's that specific a memory.
Yeah.
There was a bedroom, I imagine, but It was just dark. But at the end of that dark room, lit up, sitting there, was that doll.
Was Chucky.
Okay, that is something that happened to me.
That actually happened to you. You were sitting in Chucky's
Where was
Creek.
I?
That you were, oh God, what was his name? Eric was writing it. My husband was writing a screenplay, and he was working with Kushner was his name. I
don't know. Didn't he have something to do with comedy? I don't know. He was somehow.
Yes, and I can't.
That was the original Chucky. I remember him saying
because he either directed or produced the movie, and Chucky was his doll. I mean, he owned the doll. That was his movie. I'll have to look it up.
I was reading all through this article saying, who was this? Who were they? Thinking there would be nothing, because this article makes it sound like this other guy who doesn't look at all familiar to me, a guy named Mancini. That wasn't him.
No.
So that did happen.
Yeah.
Because yes, I know it did, but I don't know who that was.
Okay, I'm gonna try and figure it out.
We'll figure it out then. Okay. Because I don't like horror movies. I never saw that movie. Just seeing that awful doll staring out that darkened room. Why did we even go up there? Maybe he just wanted to scare us with that. I don't even remember what happened. But it scared me because I've never forgotten it, and yet I can never place it in any context. It was just this terrifying thing.
I don't know. My husband got me in more places.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And even me. I mean, it was always because of his friendships, his doing something with somebody, and you'd end up in the most bizarre places with interesting people, but still, I mean, Chucky, for God's sake. Okay, so I do remember that.
Okay, I'm looking for this guy's names too. He must have been the producer.
He was. I'll tell you, he was definitely an.
But you know how we got there. Okay, no one's interested in that. We got there through our friend Ricky.
Through Ricky Platt. Yeah, right. Okay, who's another extraordinary piece of work. Yeah, right. Yeah, unbelievable. Because of Ricky Platt, I ended up driving the wrong way on Mount Washington somewhere. Well, I shouldn't tell this story for sure. After a dinner with some Alcoa executives, which he had brought me to, he was a metals trader, and he was going to be in town talking to these Alcoa execs. So he called me up and he said, "Hey, so you want to be my date? You can come." I said, "Alcoa execs?" I didn't, the idea didn't sound fun to me, but he said, "No, I want to wow him."
It was produced by. It was the guy's name. Here it is, David Kirshner, but Kirschner.
Okay,
it was produced by David Kirshner.
Okay, so there it was. Thank you. I did not remember that at all. Well, anyway, so he wanted to have Lynn Cullen, a local celeb, on his arm we went to this restaurant that was at the top of the tallest building. It was at the time the United QS Steel
You're going to tell this story, huh? Okay, go ahead.
I think I will.
Oh, twice.
Shall I?
Yes.
Oh, that was twice. Okay, people, you'll be appalled. This has to do with drug use, and this is more than. So but I ended up sitting, I still remember the table, these two very, business suited white guys, Alcoa executives, have no idea who they were. And Ricky, who's a lunatic piece of work, and me on the other side. And we were at the top of what was that thing called? The top of the triangle? I don't know. Maybe, whatever it was, some restaurant I never been at before. And while we're talking and I'm being, I feel Ricky's hand on my leg. Now, I assure you, although he was perfectly capable, I'm sure, of doing something like that, there was something in his hand. There was something in his hand.
Yes, of course. There was always something in his hand.
Yeah, right.
Can I just suggest that I just wanted to paint the picture correctly that this guy, who was a high school friend of my husband's, and they just grew up together, was also totally devastatingly far too handsome. I mean, the kind of handsome that any normal woman says, I don't want to be anywhere around that. That's right. That's the kind of handsome he was.
I thought you were going to say something else. I mean, and he was nuts. There was nothing he wouldn't do or try. And when you were with him, you always had fun, but you were always a little on edge, right?
Well, you and I were. I mean, other people weren't, but I didn't live the way Ricky lived.
Okay, well, I just have to tell you, I believe at your husband's funeral, Ricky shook hands with our brother.
Right.
Hi, Bill. Good to see you. And Bill realized that Ricky, while shaking hands, was giving him drugs.
Yes.
That's what he did. That's the kind of thing he did. And not just, and my brother doesn't, I mean, it was like, what? So my brother walks away with a handful of cocaine,
which he found amusing, and then he repatriated it. He gave it back. But you're forgetting that after that, the next morning after my husband's funeral, he came in with $100 bills falling out of
his pocket. Yeah, he came back to the house in the morning and throwing money.
Where we're sitting Shiva.
Money all over the place. And he went to the casino after he had left the house. And what did he win? He said he won something like $25,000.
He won $30,000.
$30,000. And he had this, he was throwing it around. He said he knew Eric, Susan's husband, was there on his shoulder. He said, Eric and I were like, da, 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 da. So this is the kind of larger than life character. Meanwhile, back to this restaurant and the Alcoa guys. So I'm sitting there and I feel Ricky's hand on my leg and I, sort of grab it. And sure enough, he's deposited some drugs. My leg. And I looked down and it was again, cocaine, and a little silver spoon and some in a thing. And I am not above, I admit. I wouldn't do it now, but back then I thought, oh, okay. So This is so these Alcoa execs are sitting there talking to Lynn Cullen and this metals trader from LA, and we're sliding coke back and forth and excusing ourselves to go to the bathroom. Are you all appalled? I'm sorry.
Well, I am.
I wouldn't know. You are?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I mean, I know the story. I know the story, but I was appalled at the time.
Well, then when it came time to leave, I couldn't find my car.
And you couldn't get home.
And then I said, you got to see about, and we ended up going the wrong way. No, this is not funny. See, now this stuff.
No, it's not funny.
But I was just saying, so this started with Chucky, seeing Chucky in that room. Your husband got me in a lot of trouble because of the lunatics he knew.
I can just see him sitting next to me on the couch right now, just shaking with laughter, wiping a tear from his eye, and then going off into a fit of coughing. But anyway, that's yes. Yeah. Eric had a full lineup of some of the weirdest friends, and he was not like them, but he loved them.
No, he wasn't at all. But he just got the biggest kick out of him. Hey, just so you know, Rick, the same Ricky, the metals trader, he then invented, what are those things where people go and jump on trampolines? Oh,
he didn't invent the game, but what he did is he's the person that put together the chain of what are they called? They're trampoline
I'll go get the
parts.
Socks out. Yeah, but I got the socks. I got a bunch of socks
where you go in and it's just wall to wall trampolines and you jump, and I can't think of the name
but I
of
think
it.
There's also basketball involved, isn't there? Basketball.
Originally his original idea was he wanted to have a new pro sport which was basketball played on these trampoline courts. That didn't take off, but what took off was the whole idea, and they eventually had them all over the country, and then they sold out.
Yeah. Well,
I think his son still runs a huge part of it for the company that bought it out. But
anyway, I got some nice orange socks with treads on them.
What's the name?
I'd have to go get. You want me to go? I'll go.
No.
Look.
Somebody will know what we're talking about and tell us. We are just demonstrating that we are women in our 70s, and we're telling all these stories, but we can't tell you who, we can't tell you what,
where,
we can't tell you where, and we can't even tell you why. But we're amused.
Oh, and I have to tell you this other thing. So I'm watching Antiques Roadshow.
God, our lives. And yes,
I know it's pathetic. And somebody came in with this ugly picture. I mean, it was a print, and they showed it, and like most of the print was this, celebrity face, and I immediately saw it as Princess Di, and then they started talking about it was done by Warhol. I said, "Oh yeah, I can see that." So it's Warhol, Princess Di, and then they start talking about Warhol obviously didn't know a lot about hockey. And I thought, what?
Not Princess Di, was it?
No, you won't believe who it was. Wayne Gretzky.
I thought it was going to be Wayne Gretzky. I'm thinking of I was thinking of who had blonde hair like Princess Di. It would be Wayne Gretzky.
And who Warhol, doing Gretzky, glammed him up, and I swear to God, I still stick to it. That looked more like Princess Di than Wayne Gretzky. I'm just saying.
We'll get to the punch. How much was the Wayne Gretzky and drag thing for?
I don't know. That wasn't the punch to me. It was me thinking that Wayne Gretzky was Princess Di. That's when I regret that, like, there wasn't somebody there with me, because the dog didn't understand. I was saying, "Do you believe I thought?"
But didn't the dog wag at you as if to enjoy the moment with you?
Well, it might have. Yeah. Oh dear. Okay, so obit of the day. This is a weird one, I think. It's an Orthodox rabbi.
Yeah.
His name is Moshe Tendler. And he was more just than a rabbi. He was, and I never heard of this word. He was let me find the word. He was a posek. I know you don't know that one either.
Posek? P-O-S-E-K?
Yeah. Huh. He was the person who was actually appointed to figure out ethical when Jewish law, when the Torah should respond to advances in science and technology. He was the guy, the posek, for the Association of Orthodox Jewish Scientists to bring it together so that science and religion can coexist. This rabbi was also a microbiologist, but very much a Orthodox rabbi. So they start out this obit with something that sounds like a joke, and they say that. All right, 3 rabbis.
Sorry, this is our brother.
He's un-effing believable. Okay, so 3 rabbis meet there's one's a Reform rabbi, one's a conservative rabbi, and one's an Orthodox rabbi. He is the Orthodox rabbi. This is a true story. And they were actually at a conference at Mount Sinai Hospital in 1985, and they were talking about sex therapy.
Yes.
And it says here that the Reform rabbi, that's the more liberal of the 3 branches, the Reform rabbi concentrated on the sanctity and sensitivity with which sex must be treated. And the conservative rabbi matched him in lofty terms. But then the Orthodox rabbi, this Moshe Tendler, says here in the obit, he got down and dirty. And he starts saying it's perfectly all right for a woman to masturbate. Not so much for the man, because if he ejaculates, as we know, the Torah tells us he must not spill his seed. Then Tendler goes on with the Reform and conservative rabbis' mouths hanging open. He says, a marriage without sexuality is a weak marriage. And any sex act should give maximum pleasure to both spouses. Isn't that nice?
Yes.
Well, I'm just saying, he's not what you think when you think Orthodox rabbi.
Well, yeah, I know.
He was famous. He was most famous in medical ethics circles for his ruling. I mean, what he said went for his ruling in the late 1970s that it was not the stoppage of the heart at which death occurred, but the cessation of brain function. And this was radical at the time. Most authorities, most doctors, everybody else believed that death occurred when the heart stopped. And he said, untrue.
No, because you can bring people back after their heart is stopped.
Exactly. He says, it's the brain, because when your brain ceases to function, you have been physiologically decapitated. Nevertheless, groups of rabbis were taking him on left and right, saying, you're wrong. And there was this one interview that he was in where they were all piling up on him and saying it has to be the heart. Here's what he said to them. I believe you're ignorant on this topic. That is not an insult. It's a fact. Ha! So he was...
Too bad. I like this guy, and I never knew him.
No, he was great. No, never knew him, but he lived to be 95 years old. He got taken out by some little biological things. And his son said, it's an irony that a microbiologist should go this way. But he was doing Zoom lectures from his hospital bed right up until the end. 95. He also was, he challenged George W. Bush's administration when it tried to limit federal funding for research into stem cells, which are harvested from embryos. Rabbi Tendler said, the embryos are not full-fledged human beings. Rabbi Moshe Tendler.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I love the guy. So I just got a text from our brother.
Yeah.
4 messages. Okay, guys, here's what. Listen to this. You already responded, Mom. But this is he's supposedly there helping our mother. Mom, somehow turn the sound off. Oops, that's wrong. Excuse me.
If anybody is listening to this, I'm just amazed. Yes, okay.
Mom somehow turned the sound off on the TV in her bedroom, and it's not on mute, and I can't see how to get it back on. Of course, she is frazzled. She's frazzled. What would you call his state? No rush, but when you get done, call and give me some suggestions.
I'm just going to tell him to unplug the whole thing and let it reboot.
Oh, that's a oldie but goodie.
Well, that's what works. Why figure it out?
That's right. Why figure it out? And then I'm going to go back to reading you some terrifying thing about the Republicans, okay? Because I just remembered I have this, and I don't know who said it. But boy, is this... this is it. Republicans have already seceded. And you know, that's true.
Yeah.
Here, they say they are a white party and they are forming a white country with white laws and white companies and white jobs where white votes count and others don't.
Well,
they can...
but it's more than it's white men because the laws include keeping women down.
Yeah, but there's a lot of white women that are in cahoots with these guys. Tons of them. Okay, this guy goes on. They can live in the states that comprise that country. but they can't survive there without our money. And it was the same way with the South before the Civil War. They lived in their states with slavery, but they couldn't survive without the economy of the North. So they started a war. They never intended to secede. They intended to win and run the new country, which would be the South writ large, with slave owners in power and slavery everywhere. And that's what Republicans and Donald Trump are doing right now.
That's right.
They know they can't win. They know they can't win legitimate elections. There aren't enough of them. So they are engaged in a war with the aim not of winning elections, but of taking over and exercising the power that at least until now came from winning elections. Republicans can't rely on doing it that way. So they have transformed their party from one that participates in democracy to a fascist party engaged in a takeover of the United States of America.
That's right. I mean, what do you call it when a governor of Texas says, no, I don't, I overrule federal mandates. No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You never could. You still can't unless you want to secede. So secede.
I'll tell you something.
But we really got to pay attention to AT&T, who's headquartered there, and who funds OAN network. Yeah. I mean, look at the
AT&T is evil. They are evil. And now you got Musk pulling out.
And you
of
got
California
Musk willingly going there. I had a conversation with my son last night that said, I won't buy a Tesla. I'd like to own a Tesla, but I won't buy a Tesla because I don't want to have anything to do with Elon Musk. That's it.
Right. That's right. Oh, dearie, 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 dear.
Here we are. Yeah. We're working up our outrage. It only took us, 40 minutes?
What? Well, no, I'm not.
You've been outraged for a good half an hour already. I know.
Have I?
No.
Okay. I don't feel outraged.
No, we were talking about the rabbi. That was sort of nice.
The rabbi was a nice little thing. And have you seen the picture of the elk in Colorado?
Yes.
No, I didn't see it without. I didn't see him after.
I didn't see him after. I saw him before. Yeah.
Older picture of this magnificent elk with this huge rack, and he has a car tire around his neck, and it is tight. Now that begs the question, how the hell did that get on his neck? How the hell did that get on his neck?
Obviously, he was younger. Something happened.
He was younger.
It got over his head, and then he couldn't get it off.
Yeah, and he grew horns. And I don't know. And so, thank God, some good people sedated him. Must have had tranquilizer guns. They sedated him, and they were going to try to cut it off him. But they bumped into, it was a steel belted radio.
Oh.
And they couldn't get through the steel. And so they felt really awful. But because rutting season is upon us, the only way they could get it off was to take his antlers off, and then really just managed to get it off his head, his antlerless head. And then they, I guess, had a an antidote. So he came to very quickly and went running off, probably thinking, what the fuck just happened?
Right.
But it reminds me of a even more extraordinary story of, man aiding animals. We do so much to destroy them and their habitats. And when you see these things where we actually do something good, it just makes my heart soar. This was on NPR this last weekend, and I'm sure a lot of other people heard it, but it was a story of a whale trapped in crab netting, and to the point where it was literally, there were ropes around its head, its body, its tail was just they thought just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of crab traps and stuff, and it was literally pulling it down. Oh. And they had been alerted that this magnificent, I think it was a female humpback, was in real trouble, and because somebody had sighted it, and it was like 17 miles off the coast of like San Francisco. And these guys took some boats and went looking for it. And it was at night, and it was hard. It's dark, and it was hard to see. They finally find it, and it's in true distress. And they really can't. Well, I'll cut to the chase. They started working. And just with their, knives, they started trying to, at one point, one of them went up to try to free the head from this rope that was like right near its eye. And he said that eye, it as big as a grapefruit, watched every move that they were making as much as it could. And they worked for hours and hours, and they despaired. They eventually, though, somehow, bang, the pots and everything that it was dragging fell down. And the whale swam away. And there were 4 of these guys. They start, they were so elated. They couldn't believe they'd done it. And they were hooting and hollering. And then one of them turns and sees the whale. And it's coming right at him.
Right.
And it's coming at a pretty good clip. And he's thinking, oh my God, I can't.
Nice.
Oh
coming
my
to
God.
say thank you.
And it came really fast. He was just steeling himself for this impact, and it stopped like an inch in front of him and just stared at him. That big eye just staring at him. And then it took its body and pushed him in the chest. And then pushed him again and again. And then it turned and went to the other divers, each in turn. Stared at them. And then, and then swam away. And I'll tell you the story, we all think that, saying, of course, oh my God, that is so, I was in tears listening to it. But then they talked to an animal biologist type who said, well, see, this is us putting our understanding on that behavior. Was the whale expressing gratitude? And we all think, yeah, obviously. But he said gratitude might be something that's, again, us humans just seeing everything through our lens. He said, let's say these 4 guys came upon a bear in a similar, situation and freed the bear. And then the bear turned around and ate him. Was the bear expressing ingratitude?
Or just being a bear?
Or just being a bear. But I have to say, just being a whale in this case is clearly showing a measure of appreciation.
A measure of cognition.
Yes,
that
you saved me.
Yes.
Yeah, you freed me. I want to see you. I want to know you. I want to touch you. So that's good.
Yeah, it is good.
All right, Susan, go save your frazzled brother and the television problem with Mom. And in fact, if I'm there taking supposedly care of her, you'll be getting a lot of emails like that from me. I wouldn't have it.
Yeah, you just call me, and I can't believe it. I mean, I fix the TVs long distance there like 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah, I bet. So I'm not going to worry about it. And Susan, okay. I want to tell you that your go-aheads were halved today. You only had 2. Last Tuesday
that's
you had
true.
4. And who knows, if you keep this up, you'll only have 1 next Tuesday, and we'll never hear it again after.
That might happen.
It just might happen.
I'm saying that people can change. Yes. All it takes is a little self-awareness.
And we didn't talk about Gruden. I wanted to. Never mind. So forget it. Oh, I forgot about that.
Enough.
Damn it.
It just turns out if you insist on writing down how awful you are, eventually people will notice.
All right.
Okay.
But if they threw out all of the football coaches, the baseball managers, who think these things, feel these things, there wouldn't, there's part of me that says, my God. Okay, but you're saying if you're stupid enough to put things in writing in this day and age.
Yeah. I'm not saying that there's not 70,000 more like him out there. I'm just saying, his particular brand of doing it had a tad too much arrogance, and he was outed.
Arrogance?
Because he just thought that no one would ever find out, that he can write whatever he wants, present one face to the public, write whatever he wants in private, and nobody will ever. There'll be no time to pay the piper. And he just totally disappeared himself. He can't do anything now.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Anyway, he was pretty much.
Well, I guess ESPN will. Who the hell knows? But meanwhile, they continue. Okay, the whole thing is insane. I don't know. I can't. I hear you. This is why I didn't talk about it. I'm conflicted. Okay.
Okay. I mean, after all, old white men will be old white men.
Yeah, excuse me, boys will be boys, and they grow up to be old white men.
Having committed all of those and said all of those, and did all of those things that boys that will be boys do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And most of them have been allowed to be extremely highly successful and not have their boyhood pranks, their little, rape here and rape there. That really just shouldn't bother anybody too much. So
I just want to add, I don't know, I just want to add, and then we got to say goodbye. That the New York Times art section says that Chucky in this new series is coming out is, I guess, gay, and Superman's now gay.
Oh no! It's actually not technically Clark Kent Superman. It's his son. Superman's off doing something intergalactically or extragalactically, and his son turns out to be the acting Superman, and it would be he that is gay.
Oh.
Just saying.
You see, media.
Don't ask me how your sister has all this info in her teeny tiny little brain.
I know. This is the entertainment industry and media trying to make amends for most characters now, it seems, are either gay, trans, or black, right? These efforts to do that, do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. It can start to seem a little silly to me.
Is there just a plain old girl out there?
No, girls don't. No, as you know, Susan.
No.
Girls don't exist. They're just people with vaginas.
Yes, I know.
Let's not go there. Just
Scabbards,
people with vaginas.
as it were.
Scabbard. Yes, scabbards. Yes, mere scabbards. All right.
On that note, tra-la.
Tra-la. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.